So we're here. It's post first day of Sacramento Gamer Expo. I'm here with a couple of folks. Well, how should we do this? I don't know. I'll go around. I'm Gene. I'm one of the core podcast hosts here at Pixelated Audio. We're replacing loser Brian, who's not here with us, with a better Brian who actually did show up. Do you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Yeah, my name happens to be Brian Stewart, and I'm really pleased to be here.
Yeah.
I'm AJ, go by RageCage Online. I am the host of VG Emporium, a currently on a hiatus VGM podcast. And I enjoyed the expo very much.
And I'm here with Michelle, who we haven't seen on the show since DC, I think.
No.
Wait. No, you were the voice of Sue Kasper. What was I saying? Yes, so you've been with us a few times. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, hey, good to be back. We're here in lovely Sacramento and having a good time.
Indeed. So, Sac Gamer Expo, it was a lot of fun. I don't know, I don't have any specific topics in mind. I kind of just wanted to get people's thoughts and opinions. Michelle was not there with us today, but, she's also a gamer. So, when you want the mic, let us know. But what were your thoughts, AJ?
My thoughts? Well, this being my third year going to it, it's definitely, I feel kind of like, just a cozy feeling about it, and always kind of cool to see what it's mostly the same each year. Like, there's a big hall with all like the retro games being sold and art and stuff, like a couple of my friends selling art there, but there's always like small little changes as far as like what they have main focus in the room. Like, because the first year I went there, they had like all these consoles throughout the years just lined up in a room. And in the middle, somebody had like all these prototype cartridges. Then last year, the one that you and Brian came to, they had all the Nintendo Power displays on.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And then this year they had, it was kind of like just almost like another game room, except it was really weird consoles. Like they had a 3DO and a Nuon, which was a DVD-based like game console set up next to each other, which was very strange. They had a Virtual Boy, an R-Zone, which Brian played. And I got to play a little bit of Galactic Assault or
Galactic Attack
on the Saturn, which was really cool. So that was, and then just the different guests they have. So
yeah, even as esoteric as we get, I think you're the only person I know who even knows what a Nuon is. So
well, I did an episode focusing on those weird CD-based consoles, and the Nuon was one of the ones I discovered doing that. And it was just. Hey, it has Tempest, I think, Tempest 2000 or 3000 on it, so I guess there's that for it.
I haven't heard that. I listened to the episode a while back. I forgot exactly what you talked about with the Nuon, but yeah, there were so many weird. The mid-90s, everybody was trying to win with the CD console, and most of us, we all lost.
Yeah, it was actually kind of interesting. Megaran was there, and he was taking pictures and posting them on social media, just be like, hey, who knows what this thing is?
With like the consoles around the various hall, the expo hall?
Yeah, I think he was looking at some of the ones that the vendors had, because the ones in the hall were pretty clearly labeled.
Yeah, it was nice, but I think I kind of want to turn my attention to, I guess for me, what was the highlight. So I guess kind of what, to AJ's point, every year, this is only my second year going, there is usually a different focus. Oftentimes it's in the guests and the people that show up there. This year I was really excited to both see, on the schedule and actually talk to a couple of, pretty big legends from the game industry. In particular, this year it was David Crane and Gary Kitchen, representing the old Atari 2600. Super cool. We went to their talk. The three of us went to their talk. And also, we spent a lot of time talking with Ed Annunziata, the Sega Genesis, Sega of America guy who worked on such classics as Echo the Dolphin. Maybe not as much of a classic, Chacon the Forever Man. Mr. Bones. What else? Calibri, which is Echo the Dolphin, but bird, as I always seem to say. A couple of other games, but basically just very influential in the early days of Sega of America, and just a very passionate game designer and very cool guy. And actually, this is something I wanted to bring up. Brian, you probably know where we're going with this.
Yeah.
What is it that Ed worked on that you've mentioned to me on so many occasions I've lost count?
So Ed worked on Dungeons & Dragons Warriors of the Eternal Sun, which is a Sega RPG that takes place in the D&D Hollow World setting. And he said to me that I might be the first fan of it that he's met in 30 years.
Yeah, Brian keeps like, when are you guys over in like Dwelling of Duels land going to cover this game? And it's always crickets.
Yeah.
Nobody has any interest. And it's Frank Klepacki because, he did Command and Conquer and, all these other big games that people know him for. And then it's always Warriors of the Eternal Sun. Nothing.
It's funny because I've been hyping up this soundtrack for many, many years. And every time anyone listens to it, they're like, wow, this slaps. This is so great. And then no one ever covers it. And I've been giving Ian Cowell Arby's gift cards every time I see him because he said he would do anything for Arby's. And I'm like, I'm keeping you on retainer. I'm like, every time I see him, I give him an Arby's gift card. I'm like, I'm keeping you on retainer for this project. It's called the Californians, and it's my dream team of Ian Cowell, Ian Lucky, and Ian Martin. And they say they want to do it, but they need a drummer named Ian. And I found a VGM drummer named Ian, but he lives in Arizona, so it doesn't fit the theme.
But remote, we could make it a remote. Arizona, it's honorary. I think that's close enough, almost.
But yeah, I've been trying to convince them to cover Warriors of the Eternal Sun forever now. And somebody actually did cover some tracks from it recently. Game Grooves shared them.
Oh, nice.
Gatehouse released 2 lo-fi, easy listening covers from the game, which I think is hilarious because it's a very bass heavy soundtrack. It's like this kind of blend of hard rock and typical fantasy music. And lo-fi is like the opposite of where most people would go with covers. But I was so thrilled that I sent him a very nice thank you email.
Well, with all that said, do you have a specific track in mind?
My favorite track is Swamp Combat.
All right, let's go give that a listen real quick. I actually did a commission of that through the Arcadian's Patreon. He actually did sort of a medley of tunes. And I told him, there's a vocal component that needs to be included. And then he's like, what's the lyric you want? I said, I never said lyric. I said vocal component. Well, I'm glad we finally got to play that. I feel like gradually the game is getting more and more recognition 30-odd years out. Actually, I will say Ed was super happy that not only you knew the game, but that you were a big fan of it. He gave you a poster that he signed. What else? I feel like he got some little card.
Yeah, he signed like a little postcard with the game art on it. And yeah, they gave me a full-size poster. And they actually had like a mint in box version of the game, which I've never seen a box in person before, but it was a little out of my price range today.
Yeah, I will agree. It was very well kept. It was in near mint condition, but I couldn't afford it either. Well, I don't know if we had anything else to add on that topic, but if not, I don't know if you had any kind of thoughts, ideas, AJ, memories. What's on your mind about Sac Gamer Expo?
Sac Gamer Expo. Yeah, it's mostly just become a way to again, hang out with you guys since you've been coming up these last couple of years. So that's been great. But it's like a couple of my friends have art booths there, so I get to see them, hang out with them, kind of mess around with them because I honestly myself don't really have much need for physical games anymore because a lot of the stuff I play is digital on Switch or I emulate it.
For sure, yeah.
But yeah, as far as what I'm getting out of these events now is again just seeing these guests, these people that I did not expect to actually be excited to see. Again the Atari, the two Atari guys, Ed and Annunziata, I didn't know what to expect from what their talks would be, but again I just kind of learned. I think how I put it to Ed was I learned things I didn't know I wanted to know. Which is the best way to put it.
I think that's a great way to put it. I was not around for the golden era of Atari games. I started playing the, David Crane games in the late 80s, I guess. But they had a whole decade of, working on games before that. And hearing some of those stories was really fascinating. And, we can never promise anything for sure, but I really do hope we can get them on. Gary Kitchen, David Crane told some really awesome stories. They're actually back at it again. They're still making Atari 2600 games. That was at their booth, you could buy brand new Atari 2600 games that they've been making. They're kind of that was some of the most fun I had in my life. Why don't we do that again?
Yeah, what was their company? Audacity Entertainment?
Audacity Games. Yeah, I think the idea being, the way they phrased it is, who would have the audacity to make games for the 2600 and try to sell them in, 2020s?
And also, they had video going of some of the games that they, made in these last few years, and they look very, really good for Atari 2600, compared to actual 2600 games I've seen, because again, these are guys that have been working with this, hardware and software for since the 80s, late 70s, early 80s. And so now they have all this knowledge of how to actually squeeze the most out of this hardware. And, I guess it helps that they have that extra, that 128K of RAM inside those carts now because they can't get any less.
Oh, yeah. Get ready, folks. Pitfall 3, it's happening. Or probably, I don't know. But no, they had some cool parallax scrolling. I didn't realize Garry was the guy who worked on Keystone Capers. Never really made that connection. One of my favorite Atari games. I've played them mostly on these little Atari collections. And surprised at how fun they still are even now. So I was like, oh, this looks like Keystone Capers. He's like, yeah, because I made it. Which is really funny. He didn't say it like that, but that was kind of yeah, Dunderhead, of course.
Yeah, and then, of course, talking to them, brought up the topic of just, homebrew games being made in general, for hardware. So, again, that brought up Angelic Warrior Deva, which you and Brian covered years ago with the actual, guy that created it. And, just amazing what's being made now because not only people are making original games for the hardware, a lot of stuff for Sega Genesis, for example, Yuzo Koshiro is creating Eartheon, which is from the ground up, just a game made for the Sega Genesis and doing amazing things with the visuals and everything. And then I was going to bring one up, and then just ports in general as well, people taking games that were made on something years after the the console that they're porting it to came out. For example, Castlevania Symphony of the Night. I've been watching somebody doing a port of that, and it's been crazy, because they've been able to actually fit the colors in there and make it look like the PS1 version. Animations, of course, some stuff chopped out, but it's just really cool what people are doing with this old hardware that's now 30 plus years old.
You're talking about that, moving that onto the Genesis?
Yeah.
Jeez.
It's crazy. Like, if you can find it on Twitter, I'm not going to call it X because
sure.
What? But yeah. Or if you just look up Castlevania Sega Genesis, I'm pretty sure you'll be able to find it in. It's just impressive what they're doing. They haven't done, I don't know if they've done audio yet, but I can imagine, that'll be a quite impressive feat once they get to that point.
Oh yeah, Castlevania lends itself very well to FM music, so I'm not, it's not going to sound the same, but it will still sound very good. Now, I don't have an organic segue into this, but obviously, do you have a track picked out? It doesn't have to be specifically related to what you've talked about, but, we're a video game music podcast.
Well, one thing is that, playing that Galactic Attack, I could barely hear the music from that first stage over all the sound effects and everything else going on, those pinball machines. So, and it kept catching my ear because it made me think of Polestar from the Neo Geo arcade game. Mm-hmm. And so, if anything, that's track from that first stage of Galactic Attack.
All right.
It'd be something I'd like to have played.
Let's dig that up.
So yeah, a quick little thing to point out, that stage one, the title of that was Penetration. And if you happen to have listened to VG Emporium, which I've had Gene on as a guest, the last episode that he was on was talking about defunct California-based game companies, and one of the tracks he featured was from Colibri, and that was called Penetration as well.
Another Ed Annunziata game.
Yeah. So it seems that we're 2 for 2 for Penetration, so we'll see what happens the next time we encounter each other in a podcast setting.
I'm not touching that one, but thank you for that segue.
Yes,
So,
subtext.
I'm not going to jump into my track yet because Brian volunteered to talk about a funny story that he has that was finally resolved today after, what, a decade, 2 decades?
It's been a while. I was a man on a mission today. So this might have been the very first VGM related show I ever attended, and I believe you were there, Gene.
Yeah, I think I was.
This is before we knew each other.
So, okay, ancient people from the Bay Area. Yes, Michelle, do you want to say it louder?
Oh, yes, Nickel City.
Yes. My very brief date that I had with an ex-girlfriend ended after I took her to a nerd show, and she's like, I think I'm out. So, and that's my dog joining. Yeah. So I guess she just wasn't interested in The Advantage or MC Lars or any of those now legendary bands. MC Lars is still performing.
So I went to that show. This was about 16 to 18 years ago-ish. It was his album, The Graduate, had come out. And he had this song called 21 Concepts, which is dubbed over a Tetris beat. And Nickel City happened to have a free play Tetris machine. And MC Lars issued an open challenge to all comers. He said, meet me by that machine after my set. I'll take on anybody. So my friends and I waited by that machine until closing, and he never showed his face. And I have held a grudge ever since. I am bound and determined to get that Tetris match from MC Lars. And by some random chance, every single time he did a Bay Area performance, I happened to be like out of town that day. So I have not seen him face to face in like 18 years since that show. But I knew he was going to be here. So I got a Switch, and I borrowed a Switch from my friend's daughter, and I got the Game Boy versions of Tetris loaded up on it, and I challenged him today at his table. I reminded him of that challenge, and I was taking him to task and holding him to account.
Did you yell, I demand satisfaction, and throw down a glove?
I really, really, more than anything, wish I had a Nintendo Power Glove in order to have done that. That would have just made it the perfect day.
I am glad, though, that he took you up on the offer. He's like, he made a promise, and he's like, you know what? It's time. I owe it to you.
Yeah. He was a very good sport about the challenge, and I thoroughly trounced him, and he said rematch, and then I trounced him again. But he was a very good sport about it, and he asked me at the end how I can be so good at everything I try, and I told him it's just because I'm that cool.
I wish I had stuck around for that. I think I was probably chatting with Ed or browsing the expo hall or something like that, which I did actually grab a couple of things. Got a copy of, this is the Ed Annunziata show for me today. So I got a copy of Echo the Dolphin for him to sign, which he did. I also got some of his little mini cards for one of my favorite games growing up, X-Men 2, The Clone Wars, which is a really, really good Sega Genesis game with a really cool soundtrack. He's just such a good guy. I really enjoyed talking with him.
Oh yeah, I got Brian Collin to sign 3 games for me today.
Yes, tell us about that. That's another Brian.
Yeah, and he was also very appreciative that we spell our names the same way, with an I, as is appropriate.
Sorry, Brians with a Y that aren't on this show.
Yes, sorry, not sorry. He's made some of my favorite childhood games, actually. He was the artist behind Rampage and General Chaos and Spy Hunter. And I spent this week, I already had General Chaos, but I was trying to find a Rampage and a Spy Hunter card.
Yeah.
I checked every store in San Jose. I found Spy Hunter, but couldn't find Rampage. And I managed to find one right before we left the convention today, a Rampage cart. For like $10 and got him to sign it on my way out the door. It was pretty awesome.
Oh yeah, and he had on display a lot of the banner art, like kind of or concept or whatever art for the various games, like Rampage, like General Chaos. There were a couple of others, but it's kind of that like 60s, 70s pulp. Everybody looks like, I don't know. How would you describe that art style? It's really cool.
It's very cartoonish.
Yeah.
Certainly, it's almost sort of like a retro comic book style.
Yeah.
Very saturated colors, bold lines. Yeah, he had a lot of different posters of Rampage art and General Chaos art. And he had a bunch of T-shirts he had made for the movie because they let him come on set.
I forgot about the movie, yeah.
When they made the Rock Johnson movie. And so he had some like cast shirts that he made for everyone, and he had leftovers that he was selling.
Jeez.
I know. When I was initially looking at his whole stand, like I was confused as to why Rock was wearing a Rampage shirt, and then it was just that, like before we were leaving and you were getting it signed, that I realized, oh yeah, they made a Rampage movie, because I had totally forgotten about it.
Yeah, me too.
Because Dwayne the Rock Johnson making the bangers that you remember, right? Like, yeah, God.
I did like San Andreas, though. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, yeah. That movie was super fun. It's a good airplane movie.
It's a perfect airplane movie.
Yeah, actually, my wife just got me to watch it recently, and I gotta admit that was pretty good.
It's a total turn your brain off, watch the film, don't think too hard about it, but it's so much fun.
We did try watching the red one. We watched it all the way through. I would not recommend it.
Oh, one of the Netflix Christmas movie, the red one?
The red one with J.K. Simmons as Santa and Dwayne The Rock Johnson as his bodyguard, who is an elf, but not an elf. I don't know.
That sounds bad.
It was. If San Andreas is turn your brain off and enjoy, this is the one that turns your brain off and you just are limp on the couch because you can't do anything else because it's just dumbed you down so much.
Michelle watched some movie about a
the hot elf. Yeah, on Netflix.
No, it was like Santa.
Hot snowman.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've heard good things.
It was okay. I think these Christmas films are a little silly, and this one leans into that, the silliness. But you don't feel any smarter after having watched it.
God.
And they're all filmed on the lot, so you don't really even buy the whole.
Yeah, we've done the Universal tour, and you can see the clock tower from Back to the Future on the tour. And they said, "Oh yeah, you don't usually see this anymore because people try to cover it up because it's so recognizable." Well, it was front and center in this film. They're like, "Yeah, we're on the lot. Everyone knows it. This is LA. It is not snowing, and we're just gonna roll with it."
That's actually a good segue. Not really at all, but for the track that I'm going to play, I'm going back to Ed Annunziata. I'm not going to be playing something from Echo the Dolphin, the obvious choice. But, we got Santa, we got Christmas music. I'm going to play something from Three Dirty Dwarves.
Nice. Oh.
I forgot the name of the track. I will have to look it up as I load it up. Let's see. What? Which?
What is this?
Oh, so this is the track Gymhouse from Three Dirty Dwarves. That was the track Gymhouse from the game Three Dirty Dwarves. It sounds weird to say those words together somehow. It's basically Streets of Rage meets The Lost Vikings. So you have a crew of 3 dwarves that have or they're almost more like goblins, actually. They have different weapons, and you fight your way through, of course, America, where there's nothing but ruffians. There's a little bit of the warriors in there too. You know, it's in New York, mostly the Bronx, all that sort of thing. So, of course, everybody is just trying to beat you up the whole time. You know how it is. Just New York in the 70s and 80s.
I had never actually heard of that game before today, but after watching the demo reel, I'm like, I want to go try that out. It looks really fun.
It looks really, I've played the first stage or 2 of it. It is pretty fun. It's a little kind of a run-of-the-mill in terms of mechanics. It's fun. If you've played a lot of beat-em-ups, you've seen it before. But the music is, well, if you like breaks and that kind of mid-90s stuff like I do, it's a lot of fun. But I got nothing else really to say about that. I haven't played much of the game. But, shout out to Ed. Again, another guy who we're going to try to have on the show and go into more depth on his background and history. But that's about it from me. We haven't heard much from you, Michelle.
Yeah, well, I wasn't there to enjoy all the lovely activities you guys did at the expo. I was being cozy here, baking some cookies and hanging out with the dogs. So, I don't know. That was it.
You did have a track or 2 picked out, though. I remember you had talked about that.
Oh, yeah. I've been, doing some Stardew. Lots of Stardew, actually. Fun fact, I played more Stardew this year than Gene played Yakuza.
Yeah, Like a Dragon. Which, keep in mind, I put in 150 hours on that game, so,
Yeah, only one of my plays. But yeah, I've been doing that. We've been playing lots of fun story games this year, like Astrologaster, which was really fun, and the music for that was very different than anything we've heard so far, but really funny for the choir nerds out there. So yeah, we can play one of those if you guys want to hear.
I got to tell a bit of a story here about Astrologaster. So actually, before we get to that, perhaps you'd like to talk about why that's important because of MagWest this year.
Yeah, we did the very first time at MagWest a mag choir. We called it co-op choir, and I didn't know how many people would want to show up, and it ended up being super popular, and a lot of people came and they wanted to have a place to sing at Mag, and it was even mentioned in a lot of the surveys, the after event surveys, so super exciting time for choral music, I think, in VGM, because it's now getting to the point where choir people are like, okay, yeah, but what about us? Let's do some nerdy choir stuff. And so this game, we were looking for songs to do at co-op choir, and this game came up because it's all entirely a cappella choral music. And so then we played the game and loved it, and I reached out to the publisher actually, and I was like, hey, this is super awesome. I'd love to have these scores. And so they sent me some pre-release scores before they released them to the public, because I wanted them now.
Yeah, I think there was 50 people showed up for that choir.
Well, the performers themselves was a good 30, plus an additional 30 to 50 people just to watch. So it was 10 o'clock in the morning on Saturday or something. So good attendance, especially for that time of day. And I will say, the Astrologaster music did not make the cut because it's just a little bit too complicated for a very first time to do. Mm-hmm. It was kind of on the short list of I think top ones, and it was it's got to be a little bit more approachable, so it ended up cutting room floor. So Michelle's been looking for some choral music for a little while, and I remember I didn't play the game, but I heard the soundtrack randomly, and I could not find it for the longest time, because how do you find a game like one called Astrologaster? It's tiny indie game that was Switch only, maybe PC, and I kept finding other games that were kind of like it that had choral or sort of chamber music. And then finally, it was on sale on Switch. And I'm like, oh, that's the game. That one. And so it took me a year and a half to stumble on it again. So we bought the game, played it, bought the soundtrack on Bandcamp. Really, really funny. It's, I think 6-part.
No, it's mostly 4-part madrigals and motets, and very authentically written. But they are all original tracks, and so it's 6 singers on the original track, but 4 parts. So there's two basses, 2 tenors, and then 1 alto, 1 soprano.
Yeah, which if you don't know your choral music, that's very challenging because if you don't have anybody supporting you and your pitch is off, everyone will hear you. So, yeah, so it's really challenging music, but very funny. And for those of you who don't know, the game is about an actual astrologist, basically like a scientist in the 16th century who was using like astrology to your humors are out of alignment. So, take this lead and, call me in the morning. Like this guy, had hundreds of diaries and journals that he wrote about his medical, adventures. And he was a very big fan of Shakespeare because he was contemporary with him. So, He
was a nerd of the 16th century, I think, because he kept very detailed notes. And so detailed that that's why there's this game. I mean, and things have been created about him because he just kept very good notes.
Yeah, so real person. Look him up. Look up Astrologaster. But what track do you want to play? Because there's a lot of really good picks. Basically, every track... And I'll kind of give a little bit of context. Parts of these tracks play before or after you meet up with these characters. So every 30 minutes or so, a character will come back for more guidance, advice. So you won't hear the song that you're hearing all at once. You'll kind of hear it spread out over a couple of hours. But they're little songs, kind of making fun of the person because they're a little annoying or whatever, or maybe they're kind of a jerk. So it's just telling the story about this person. That's what these songs are.
Yeah, and I mean, there's multiple verses to each character, and so I think Lord Whitgift is really great. But I mean, I would love to do these at MAG next year, just as get a quartet together and actually just do them because they're really fun to sing and to listen to.
Yes, and for a tiny bit of context, he's either on the take and stealing from the church or has a really bad gambling problem. So he's basically like a crypto bro in the 16th century.
Oh, there's so much of that if you read fancy illustrated manuscripts. It's oh yeah, this guy was the burgomeister for the town and he basically stole the whole town treasury to make this book and they executed him. But hey, we have this awesome book 400 years later.
People have not changed, which is the best part about these. And it's the best part about early music too. If you learn early music or study any and they're just really horny. And that's just how people are.
They sure were. The Hildegard von Blingen. I'm sure a lot of people know who she is because, there's a YouTube channel named after her, but also Inca Lunati.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they got her to do the modern version of her to do the music, and they included her as a character in the game. And yeah, some of her songs are extremely horny, written in the 1200s. It's crazy.
People have not changed. So let's bring up Lord Whitgift, and then, we'll wrap up the show.
Glory, glory to the Lord. The Lord, Archbishop Whitgift. Glory to the Lord in the highest position in the church, except for the Queen. Glory to the Lord, Archbishop Whitgift. Rejoice, rejoice in the Lamb. The Lamb, served by the Archbishop. To his guests for dinner at his palace in London. Rejoice, rejoice in the Lamb and beef and the fruit and the swan pie. Praise him, Archbishop Whitgift.
Ye priests who have brought scandal and shame upon the church, fear the Lord,
Archbishop Whitgift. Save us, Almighty Lord. Save us from the wrath of God. Upon us he hath wrought his vengeance, and justice, pestilence, and death, with God, forsooth. Is that not your job?
That was the track John Whitgift from Astrologaster, an extremely sacrilegious song. If you're paying attention, if you grew up in the church tradition.
Yeah, it's funny if you've sung any choral music in your life, you've probably sung a lot of religious music. There's just like a lot of music there, so you're gonna sing it. And it makes it really funny because you know those types of songs and you've done those types of lyrics, and then to say, the Archbishop Whitgift after the Lord is just funny. And so well done. The whole album is just so beautifully put together.
Yeah, and I would say even among the vocal tradition in video game music, you really don't hear that very often. You've been seeing a lot more early music showing up lately, but the choral only stuff like that, not like big textural, synthetic stuff, like just pure choir. Yeah, I think this is the first game I've heard of that's done this at length. This is an entire soundtrack of like an hour of music that's just this. So it's a lot.
Yeah, probably it is the first one to do it at length. I know many games have used music from, I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, but it's Carmina Burana.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of those songs are like this, but they're just in Latin, so they sound classy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no, it's 16th century Britain. It's supposed to sound a little bit trashy.
Yeah, and Carmina Burana, I mean, that's used like in movies and like all sorts of things. It has like that really epic kind of vibe, which I think works really well in video game music. So yeah, I think there are a lot of good examples like that, but this one in particular, I think is just so unique in that way. So I would love to perform a set of these at some point with some other choir nerd folks. I think it'd be fun.
I think that just goes to show that like none of us had any kind of discussion about this, and all of our tracks are very different from each other's, which is great. That's, I think, why we continue to love to do this show, is just to show the versatility and variety that shows up in video game music. That said, I don't have all that much more to add. It's been a fun time discussing and just hanging out with people here in Sacramento and at Game Expo and all that. I don't know if anybody has any closing thoughts or anything they wanted to add.
I'm excited to go see MC Lars and Megran and Loser later tonight.
That's true. This recording will go out before any of you know that, but we're shortly after that, we're going to go see Megaran, Loser, and MC Lars, who are performing just Midtown Sacramento. There were also performances last year. Alice Knows Karate performed last year. I think Loser also performed.
Item Get.
Yes, they did. What was that song? Sunset Riders. Bury Me With My Money, right? Didn't they do that one?
Was that Item? Yeah, they all dressed up like the Sunset Riders.
There was a Cormano up there, the pink dude in the sombrero and the poncho.
Yeah, there was a Bob and a Cormano, and it was fantastic. They did that because the venue is a Western themed bar. And actually, they said this show has to end by 10 o'clock tonight because they have to kick everyone out because they're going to do line dancing.
Yeah, same as last year.
So we're going to relive our Nickel City days tonight in a Western bar.
I guess, yeah. I hope Ed isn't there, because then he's going to be disappointed that we're not going to be able to play his music there. I guess I don't know why I keep bringing him up. I'm joking, but yeah, I do. No, I really am. I'm excited. I will say this, Echo the Dolphin is one of those weird fever dream games for me that I played as a kid. And meeting the guy who made it, I get it now. I understand why it turned out that way. He's I just have these dreams, and then you squash them down into this tiny box, and it doesn't turn out anything like you want it to. And I'm yeah, man, he's a dreamer, that guy.
I loved how when he did the panel with the testers from Sega of America,
that was super
he was
cool.
like, "Oh, my games just kept getting harder and harder because this one tester kept beating them too easy."
Yeah, he was
and
tuning them to the testers. So if you were disappointed that those games were impossible, he said to blame those guys, I guess.
Yeah.
Nowadays, there's so much focus testing that everything is beatable. But back then, it was nah, you're not going to do this. I never beat the original X-Men on Sega Genesis.
I never figured out that reset computer. He was so proud of that reset computer trick, and I was just in the back of my head thinking that SOB.
Oh yeah,
I didn't think that was funny at all when I was 10.
Oh yeah, he loved those esoteric, oblique puzzle solutions for things. But we are here pretty much at the end of the show, and I'm going to open it up to anybody. Michelle, did you have any last minute things you wanted to add?
No, I've enjoyed listening to everyone's tracks and the stories from the day to day. And you're right. Video game music is so versatile, and that's what's fun about it. It's all different types. So it's a fun time.
Yeah, I agree. AJ?
I may be getting a Steam Deck for $100.
Hell yeah.
From my buddy who, because he's not using it anymore because he got an OLED. And yeah, so hey, there's that.
Make use of it. Those things are super great. I don't have anything else to add. It's a nice sort of, it's been very rainy, I guess even snowy in places up here. We've had a lot of flooding. It's just the weather has been all over the place. But, we're nice and cozy here in our little Airbnb in Sacramento.
Boarded up fireplace.
Yeah. We're here with our dogs, who you may have heard on the recording, depending on how the editing goes for this. But, I don't know if anybody had any. Brian's got the mic. I don't know if you got something.
My name happens to be Brian Stewart, and I approve this podcast.
Oh, well, thank you, Brian. Anybody have any closeout track they want to play? I'm open to.
One Concepts.
Oh, what's that one?
MC Lars.
Nice.
Okay.
Ooh.
It's done over the Tetris beat.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you were talking about that earlier. I will see if I can dig that up. Fingers crossed. It shouldn't be too hard to find.
Touring, but rhymes about Wyoming are really very boring. As for the Churchill song, give me a break. How many songs about England could my listeners take? There was a track about women and the drama they bring. Hot girls make guys do really stupid things. Remember Geeked Out? You don't, but I do. The geek shall inherit the earth, it's true. I rapped about nerds being cooler than jocks, but if I wanted bias news, I would've just watched Fox. I've got 21 concepts, but a hit ain't one. If you're having lyric problems, I feel bad for you, son. I've got a list of songs here I once thought were the bomb, but when I laid them down in Pro Tools, they all came out wrong. Las Vegas Invasion was a sci-fi track about aliens addicted to playing blackjack. I wrote a song about a kid who made his own flick, but got a bad review in Ranger Rick.
Michelle, you had some suggestions, right?
Oh, well, I mean, since we're cozy here in Sacramento, we can play a little cozy track from Stardew, the Horseradish Jam.
That's as good of a track as any to end it on. I might play a little clip of that. I'll try to get a clip of the MC Lars thing, but I think that's a perfectly good way to, this show should be coming out either late December or early January. So cozy up with some MC Lars, maybe, or some Stardew, or both. I don't know. I'll figure it out. That's the show, everybody. Have a good night, and we'll see you back for the next one, hopefully with other Brian if he decides to show his face. All right.